Hello there, it's your bud. Don't know if this class is edgelord or practical or just my personal opinion. This is my generic class for pain magic. There are only 2 subclasses, but they're the same class so far. There's just a good and an evil version. If you have any other ideas for subclasses, comment below and let me know. So I am disabled and I'm in a ton of pain today. I've been working my butt off making videos for you and it is totally worth it. However, I wish that I could add up to something positive. And in Dungeons & Dragons, you can make anything you want, so we're making pain magic. So like I said, there are evil people, and evil people would probably abuse this, so pain magic would be slightly taboo, or at least misunderstood/feared. There are 2 kinds. There is a contested will, where you're imposing something on someone that causes pain, or there is where you can just connect to someone who feels pain. So good people would make use of people's suffering. Healers around pain have healing spells. So this class is built around hex, the pain hex. You can inflict exhaustion, damage, or pain, or you can create. I will explain the creation later, but we will start with the hex inflict. So if you inflict pain on someone, you gain a d6 per level of exhaustion to use for damage or to convert to spell slots to hex again. Now if you're a good person, you would use those spell slots for healing slots or things like that. However, if you're an evil person, you'd probably use it for more hex. The spell level determines the exhaustion levels you can impose, and you can impose on as many targets as chosen. So for example, a first level might only impose 1 exhaustion level, and you could only impose it on 1 target. But a second level might impose 2 exhaustion levels, and you can choose which targets you can impose it upon. So for an attack, you can inflict exhaustion, which is temporary until the caster fails concentration or the target makes a save. Inflicting pain is an attack, and you can gain a d6 per level of exhaustion to use for damage or to convert for spell slots. However, you can also release those d6 as damage dice, sort of the same way that you can use a pool of healing dice, but you can distribute this as damage to individuals. And then you can also use those d6 from the pain dice to create. So in create, you use the hex dice to conjure an object. I imagine it's sort of like a flame that solidifies, depending on what you're creating. So you could create a dagger, a spear, cloth, maybe a magic circle on the ground or writing, or you could maybe also conjure some sort of flame or water or some sort of element. I've considered this as crystallizing pain. So all those d6 of pain dice that you've gained, you can then crystallize into objects, and you can crystallize it as a mage hand, as an element, as an object, or as a crystal mass. And you can use the mage hand or the crystal mass with a strength check to move something. So you can fit something inside of maybe a keyhole of a lock and then turn it into crystal mass, which would break the lock and allow you to get in. So anything that is experiencing pain that you are connected to can give you more mana. So this is either an attack if you're a bad person, or this is just a willing connection that someone has given you if you're a good person or a healer. So once you have a hex, you have disadvantage on concentration, and the hex equals exhaustion upon you. You can hex a single target multiple times, and each failure equals 1 more exhaustion point. However, hexes do not work on dead or undead because they do not feel pain. A good way to think about this is sort of like an Overwatch character. I believe Zenyatta can put something right on a character that it doesn't do damage, but it does gain Zenyatta power and allows him to fill up his super quicker. So you can think of it very much like Overwatch, where you impose a disadvantage on someone to fill up your super. You have a resilience bonus, sort of like Hulk. What's Hulk's secret to being angry? He's always angry. It's sort of like Avatar. There's a scene where Aang has to carry a flame up a staircase, and if the flame goes out, he fails the test. So if you're always in pain, if you're always holding on to that, then you have a bonus to keep your concentration to impose hex on others. Because if you get hit by an attack, but you're already feeling pain, then you don't notice it as much. However, that resilience bonus is only So the inflict exhaustion points are temporary until the caster fails concentration, or the target makes a save, or a rest is taken. However, the evil pain user's exhaustion cannot be dispelled until a long rest is taken. So even if an evil person fails their concentration check, that exhaustion remains. However, a good person cannot do that. The good person just gets the resilience bonus to maintain concentration checks when taking attacks. Now, the hex, depending on this spell level, equals the amount of exhaustion points imposed. I haven't been able to balance this yet, so it's not like a 10th level would impose 10 exhaustion points, although maybe. So you can inflict pain, which gains you d6 per level of exhaustion imposed. You can use an action to inflict exhaustion upon someone. So I'd say once you've inflicted pain, it's only a bonus to gain a d6 per level of exhaustion. However, it is an action to inflict an exhaustion level upon someone, or it is an action to use your pain dice to damage or create. So, somewhere in Alexander's video, he mentions that people with constraints on their power have greater power. They put a limit on the abilities of their powers in order to increase the power level that they have. So they limit their abilities, and then that one power increases. Kurapika's chains. So the suffering and training that Killua has gone through is comparable to the limitations that Kurapika has placed on himself. They both decided to go through training to place constraints in order to improve their power, and I think that could work well for this. I think that's a pretty good class so far. Hopefully you found that interesting. I can go through and answer any questions if you have any. Hopefully you found something interesting, and hopefully you enjoyed. See you in the next video.